Hi everybody, welcome. Today, a step-by-step art journal tutorial. I'm going to use a lot of DIY stash products, so stay tuned. So this art journal is created out of a magazine, a theater playbill. And I've just put a gel print on it. I'll link to the video where I show how I transform and create this art journal. Now, to get rid of the white border from the gel print, I am just mixing the colors that are already in the gel print. There's some cadmium red, there's some Naples yellow, and I'm mixing a little bit of white gesso as well. Now, this gel print was used, the patterning that you see there was a placemat that I used on the gel print. So I'm going to show and I'm going to demonstrate lots of things that I use in this to create this page that you don't have to spend a lot of money on. You can use what you have or what you can get inexpensively at the dollar store. So I'm just adding more color, building it up, creating some background color on here. This is a great time to use those gel prints that are less than perfect. It's a starting point for whatever other layers you're going to put. So I'm just mixing gesso and a little bit of the red. Now at this point, I do not have an idea of where this is going. I'm just playing with the colors, taking this page to the next step. So now I'm going to use some DIY foam stamps that I created. And I'll link to this video too, and you're going to want to see this. I'm putting red paint on there with a makeup sponge and stamping. Now, the placemat that was on the gel print has that kind of shape. So I'm choosing stamps that I've created that have a similar shape so that everything works together. Now I'm using that same stamp with, I think it's white gesso on there, but it could be white acrylic paint. I like stamping with two colors using the same stamp. It builds cohesion into your page. So up to now, we're in a DIY art journal, and we've used a DIY placemat to make marks on it with the gel print. And now we're using our own DIY stamps. Here's another print that I have, and again I'm playing on that teardrop shape. I love this branch, and I'm using black here to add some energy to the page. That contrast, it just livened up this page. Now you could go and buy a scrapbook paper that looks like this, but here we've done it all on our own. And it's original, not to mention inexpensive. Giving this a quick dry before we move to the next step. Now I've got some black paint there on the makeup sponge, so I am just going to edge my page with black. This is going to frame the page. And this was actually the end of my creative session. And then it sat for a couple days waiting for me to get to the next stage or to have an idea of what kind of focal image I wanted to put on that. So if you're in the mood to make backgrounds, make backgrounds. I decided to grab my script stamp. This is from the Faded Type stamp set, and a script stamp, that's a necessity in my book, and I love the size of this one. And I'm stamping with black acrylic paint. Now this page I did a little while ago, and I used this Gerber Art daisy on it. And then I had these other elements, and I thought I could use that on this page. The colors were right. Now I could use it make it as a dress for my Julie Netting doll. I could layer 2 up, or how I ended up using them, I'm going to turn them into wings for my girl. Now if you don't have a Julie Netting doll, don't worry. Go and cut out a magazine picture. Now the dress I had stamped on leftover pieces of gel print. I could use the aqua color that's in the background, but I love this yellow-green color that matches the centers of that Gerber daisy. If your magazine girl doesn't have the right color dress, you can put a coat of gesso on it and paint it the color you want it to be based on your background. So now I went to my Winged Wonders sentiment pack, and they're available at NinnysNapkins.com. And I picked out some that go with my girl, and I figured out 2 possibilities. I haven't firmly decided yet. Now the Gerber daisy that I have here, I'm peeling off the excess plies. And then I'm going to glue it down with fluid matte medium onto a sheet of copy paper. And once that's dry, I will just cut it out. So on the other page, I use the Gerber daisy as the focal image. On this page, I'm building another focal image. I'm building it with a stamped image, or like I said, a magazine picture. If you want to do it totally and I put a coat of the matte medium on top as well. Now I love that yellow-green color, but my gel print had aqua. And I could have left it, to be honest. It would have been fine. But here I'm just using a liner brush and the yellow-green, and I'm just painting over the aqua. So I'm knocking back the aqua a little bit and bringing out that yellow-green so that all my elements work together. Remember, what you start with is just the start. You can always paint over it, change it up. Little by little, just to add that color to the background. And then I'm just rubbing it in a few other places just to get, again, the color throughout. So I got my Julie Nutting girl, and I positioned it where I want it. I'm leaving this in place, and I'm using gel medium to glue it down. Now, if you have Mod Podge, use Mod Podge. Use what you have. I prefer using gel medium or fluid matte medium. It doesn't stick. It gives a nice finish, and I get good effect with them. The gel medium I use is TCW brand, and the fluid medium is Liquitex. I'm adding this Gerber daisy down at the bottom just to balance out the page. I'm giving a good coat on top of everything. That turns everything into a non-porous surface. Now I can clean my brush. So I grab my angle brush and I am shading around my focal image with black acrylic paint. This is making the focal image lift away from the background. It's going to help it stand out. I'll also do some shading on the Gerbera daisy as well. Just like I'm doing right now. And turn your page however it is easiest for you to do it. I'm adding some of that yellow-green to build up the wings, beef up that color. Then I mix the cadmium red that I had in the background and the Naples yellow that I had in the background together with some white gesso to make a flesh tone that I'm painting on the Julie Nutting doll. And I switched to a smaller brush just to make it easy. I choose to paint her hair brown just so it would stand out. I didn't think blonde would stand out so much. And red, there's enough red in the background. Another great source of flowers is calendars, seed catalogs. You can get them all very inexpensively. Now I grab my Inktense block and I'm just putting a wash of the red just to deepen the color of the focal image, just so it stands out a little bit more from the background. Then I grab some Naples yellow and I'm adding that to some of the places. This is giving a painterly effect on the flower, so it looks less like I glued a napkin down and more like I hand painted the flower. Now I'm using white gesso and I'm adding some highlights to the flower. As I said in the beginning, this art journal is a DIY. I used a playbill from a theater performance that I went to. And it has, I think there's 8 pages in total, so it's a quick, easy. I will link to that video If you hit the I in the top right hand corner, you can get that video, or wait till the end. I'll put it in as an end card as well. Using the black to shade around the sentiment. I think I have one more page in this DIY art journal. But don't worry, I have another playbill, and I'll be turning it into an art journal too, because I've really enjoyed working in this DIY art journal. Just edging the page with the shading technique. Now just adding some shading on the Julie Nutting doll. I was going to use brown, but I have black out, so that's what I used. I'm just adding some stippling in here just to bring out the black, add my own detail. And I'm thinking, am I done? I decide that I want to do some gold stamping, so I grab my script stamp, the same one I use with black, and I'm putting gold on there. Watch to the end, the close-ups, you can see the gold. It totally works, and it just added another layer of interest to the finished page. I love how all the elements on this page came together. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, go get creative.